Welcome to MS Unmasked, Our Journey and Beyond, a podcast where hosts Justine Martin and Allyson Brown share their personal experiences, insights and practical advice on navigating life with multiple sclerosis. Each week they delve into topics such as self-care, nutrition, exercise, sleep and symptom management. Join them as they explore the physical, emotional and mental aspects of living with MS, providing a supportive community for listeners touched by this condition. Get ready to be inspired and empowered on this incredible journey through MS Unmasked, Our Journey and Beyond.
Welcome back, listeners, to MS Unmasked. Allyson, how are you today?
I am well. I'm feeling good, feeling energized. I'm feeling good today. How about you?
I feel like shit.
Wonderful. Just what people want to hear. But you know what? That's real. That's just what it is. It's real. Some days we wake up feeling like crap.
Yeah, but how many of us, when we're asked how we are, go, oh yeah, I'm okay, or I'm fine? I don't do that now. I'm like, yeah, I feel like shit. Yeah.
I don't know. You did it the other night at the Chamber of Commerce. Somebody new was talking to you, like, "Oh, how are you?" And you're like, "Yeah, good."
I was all right then. I feel like shit today, but I got bad news yesterday, so that's never good. And waiting on MRI results, we all know what that's like. And throw in there that I'm under probably too much stress, which is self-inflicted, and my sinuses are playing up and I've got a headache from hell. So I'm fine.
So you're doing great.
I'm doing great.
And look, let's think about it in perspective though. Like, it could be a lot worse. Remember those days when it's been a lot worse? You know what? You're actually doing pretty good today. You're out of bed, you're dressed, your hair's done, makeup's done. Look, you know what? You're kicking goals.
I just went to the supermarket and got stuck down one of the aisles because my left foot decided to do a spasm and couldn't walk.
No.
Yeah. So my toes are still all hooky on my left foot. And do you remember me saying in a previous episode that I bought a manual car? How stupid was I? So that was a bit of difficulty driving home with the clutch, and hence why we were a little bit late starting today as well, Elle, because, I got stuck in at Coles.
Yeah. So I'm not sure whether you do, but I've got a walking stick, which is a fold-up one, and it's about yay long, so like 25. And I don't know, at those kind of times, you just sort of wish that it was in your handbag so that at least you had something there, which could be a thing because these are really good for travel as well. So you might even want to think about taking one when you go overseas very, very soon, just in case you have a bit of an issue and you're like, you know what, at least I've got this as my kind of safety blanket here. It's here. I can rely on it. Give me the stability. Yeah.
I'm going to write that right on. This is my Bali list for those that can't see. I've been walking around with my travel list and I'm going to write on there my walking stick because I do have a fold-up one.
Excellent. I used to always have a list of, things that I need to take, particularly when I was on medication. It was like the auto injector, make sure that you've got, I think you mentioned last week, make sure you got antibiotics. Now, I don't think I mentioned it, but I have a case, which is like my little first aid case, and it has all sorts of stuff in it. So predominantly when I go overseas, I get a throat infection almost every time. So I've got like the betadine throat gargle to kind of kill the bacteria. I've got things like, Band-Aids and swabs and stuff like that. But just, the antibiotics, I always bring a range of antibiotics with me just in case I need them. I don't use them very much at all these days, but in the case of an emergency, at least I've got them, particularly when I've gone over to foreign-speaking countries and I'm like, the language barrier is so big, I don't know where to start. That can be really daunting, but always having like a little kit to take with you is really, really handy.
Last time I went to Bali, my girlfriend got very badly windburn not sunburnt because we weren't in the sun, but it was very windy and she was a redhead. So I had to go to the pharmacy there, and they were very easy to understand, but the prices were exorbitant for what it was. So it is a good travel idea to take a travel first aid kit with you, first aid case with you. And I normally do. I take all my meds, and making sure that when you do travel, that if you are on antibiotics or any medication that you're taking, make sure they're in the original packet with the prescription on it, especially going into Bali, because that can flag as well.
Yeah. And look, I always go with the whole theory of declare everything, because when you declare everything, they don't care what you've got. They're
right.
like, yeah, whatever, just go ahead. If you're trying to hide something or you don't declare something, they're like, yeah, we want to check out your bag. Oh, what's this medication that's not in its original packaging? Or what's this thing? So I always just declare everything, even if it's just that I've got chewing gum in my bag, which is food.
Yeah.
Done. Like, it's as simple as that. Or if you've got, pain medication like headache tablets or something like that, guess what? Just put it down, and then they go, yeah, okay, whatever. Go on, get out of here. But that's what you want. You don't want them going and sneaking around and kind of, making your life hell either, because that's the last thing you need when you're at the airport as well.
Yeah, I know. This is my first trip, doing a lot of it by myself. So the anxiety is through the roof, and I'm pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. So we'll see what happens.
Did you say last time that your medication or the injections that you have to have, they're refrigerated, yeah?
Yeah.
So you'll have to have them. Do you have an insulated bag to take them in?
Yeah.
And do you have like ice bricks to
all
put in there?
That. And then there's extra weight, and it's like, oh my God.
I know. And it's just so annoying. I just remember when I was going through the scanners, so I would always have my letter from the doctor. I knew that I had my medication in my carry-on, and it would go through the scans, and I'm like, here's my letter. Like, yep, I know there's injections. Yep, here it is. And I remember, I think it was one of the US airports, and they were like, yeah, we don't care about the injections, but what is this liquid in this ice pack thing? Because it had melted by the time I got there. And I said, well, it used to be ice, but it's now a liquid because it's obviously melted. And they're like, yeah, well, we're going to need to rescan that and everything. So they spent ages just rescanning and going through, thinking it was some kind of, I don't even know. But yeah, then at the end of it, they're like, yeah, all right, go on, get out of here. Yeah, it's just so frustrating.
I get flagged up by the pump because
you mentioned that.
Because it's got a big spring in it, which looks like it's out of a gun. So that's always interesting. And I can't put the infusion in without that pump because it's way too hard to push the 25 mil syringes through the small gauge 3 lines. But I didn't take it to Bali last time because I was only over there for 4 days. But because I'm going now for 12, I'm definitely taking it. And I'll have to take 4 weeks worth, although I'm only there for 12 days. So I'll have 2 infusions while I'm over there. And I always take a couple of extra weeks because this medication, it's not like I can go into a pharmacy anywhere, even here in Australia, and get it. It comes through the hospital, which comes through the blood bank, and it's all screened and everything. But I've just got to make sure, if there's a volcano that erupts over there and I'm grounded for an extra week, in paradise, that I've got enough medication to take with me.
Yeah, and that's always smart as well. Just pack a little bit extra, just in case. You can always bring it home. And you know what I used to love, actually? I used to love traveling with my medication. If I went away for like 4 to 6 weeks, obviously you have to have a bunch of medication with you. And so I reckon it would be like a third of my suitcase, my big suitcase would be just medication. And what was great is that I always put them in containers and the insulated bag and stuff. So by the end of my trip, I always had protective things to put my goodies in, all my souvenirs and stuff that I bought. And yeah, it was always really great. So, and I had room, obviously, to buy my souvenirs. So that was like the silver lining for having to take medication overseas, was that it did come in handy for souvenirs.
Things. Well, I need that. Well, I need those shoes to go with that outfit. And then I'm like, oh God, I'm over my baggage allowance, and I'm going to need extra undies in case I wet myself while I'm away, and, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, shocking. And you think with the amount of times that I go away that I'd have it all down pat, but no, I don't.
I'll tell you what I used to do, and I probably still have it. I haven't used it in a while because I haven't traveled in a while, but I used to, in the list or notes section, I have a list which is all of the things that I need to take. So I just always refer to that. And now, obviously, I used to have a big section that was medications and this, and don't forget your auto injector and all that stuff. And now I don't have to worry about that so much. But yeah, having a list that I can just go, it's already there. I just have to follow the list. And yeah, I can make some tweaks to it. But if it has the essentials in there, at least I know I'm not going to be too far from the tree.
So how's your week been? What's happened in your week?
God, I don't even remember, to be honest. Like, it's all just a bit of a blur.
And we're only up to Tuesday, folks.
Oh, God, I can't even remember. I'm getting distracted by my little magpies that are coming to my back door going, give me food, give me food. It's probably
like that today. It's one of those days when, when you just don't know what you want to eat. It's like, oh, what's in the cupboard? None of this I can have. I did buy some new gluten-free crackers this week.
Oh, yeah?
Without much crap in them. But they're very crumbly.
Okay. I always am wary about buying any gluten-free stuff from the supermarkets, because even if it's not on the label, if it's under 5%, they don't even have to put it on the label.
No, they don't.
Which is kind of ridiculous.
That's
well, it is absolutely. But obviously, when we're a bit more sensitive to certain foods, and we've got to be really careful, it just makes it that much more bad. And what I've found personally is that since cleaning up my diet, I'm actually more sensitive to crap. If there's crap in the food, I'm like, oh, I didn't feel good with that. My body's become super sensitive to it, kind of.
Well, I think because prior to us, eating crap all the time, we didn't feel the difference of what it's like to feel, healthy or healthier than when you're on this level of crap all the time.
Yeah, that's right. I always say to people, it becomes white noise. Like, the level of inflammation in your body just gets to a stage where it's always there. It might flare up if you have like a big lot of, gluten-based pasta or, McDonald's or something like that. You might probably feel it because you're like, oh, okay, that's getting a bit too high. But otherwise, we have so much processed stuff. It's just white noise. The inflammation is just white noise, and we ignore it. We forget about those symptoms like reflux and heartburn and indigestion and constipation, headaches, blah, 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 that can be linked to all of those things. But we just ignore them and just go, oh, that just happens when I have that McDonald's.
And that old cliche, we are what we eat, is so true, because what we're replacing on a cellular level is what we're eating.
Well, that's right. It's all the amino acids. Like, we have to get those amino acids to do the building blocks of, functioning, our body functioning. But where do we get them? We basically have to eat them for the most part. I mean, our body can make certain peptides and amino acids. But, yeah, most of it comes in from our diet. So if we are eating crap, our body's like, well, I don't know what to do with this crap, but it can't really make energy out of it. Energy is the big one, I reckon, because we get a lot of mitochondrial dysfunction when we eat lots of bad foods. So mitochondria are the little organelles in our cells that create energy. And when they're malfunctioning, you don't get energy, right? So if you're feeling flat and crappy, it's probably because, we're eating this sort of inflammatory diet, and our body's like, I don't know what to do with that. That's not energy. I don't know what to do with that. Get rid of it. Store it in fat cells, actually, if it's toxic and, sugary and, all this bad stuff that gets stored in fat cells, which is, not good either. Yeah.
Like you can relate to that. The listeners will be able to relate when they eat something that's high sugar. So like chocolate. So the chocolate, once you burn some of it, and then you'll come down from the high from it to a low, a very big crash and burn low, and then you're looking for more. So you're constantly spiking. Whereas I'm sure you're like me, we have this even keel of.
Yeah, and honestly, if you can get into some level of ketosis, it means that you're burning fat, which is actually a much more efficient way of producing energy than our usual glucose energy production, which comes from your carbs and sugar. But yeah, as you say, those sugar. I remember being addicted to sugar for a year, like for most of my life, like at least 30 years. But I I always had access to junk food. I always had access to, something that wasn't particularly good for me. And obviously when your taste buds become accustomed to that, you kind of just like, yeah, well, I'll just reach for a chocolate biscuit. Oh yeah, I'll just reach for some chips. I'll just reach for, and you just do. And that's just what I did. And yeah, I had no idea that, my body was not functioning the way that it was supposed to. And
but everything that you eat, like if you say you make spaghetti bolognese, okay, people would consider that, okay, it's homemade. It's homemade, I've made it. But I'll guarantee you that you've poured the sauce out of a jar and that the sauce is full of sugar and salt. Everything that you're putting into it, even some of the pastas that we buy now have sugar in them.
Well, the pasta is a big one because it's a carb that gets rapidly turned to sugar in the bloodstream. It is the same as eating a big bar of chocolate. That's what happens to our bodies.
White fluffy bread.
That's right. It's exactly the same. And obviously we don't think of that as being sugar because it's not, but it honestly does create the same reaction in the body. And honestly, I used to crave bread and I had no idea why. I was just like, I really need bread right now. And it was my sugar craving coming out as being, I wanted bread to give me the sugar hit. Amazing. Like, just we can get it so wrong. We don't realize that these foods are actually causing that inflammation and that sugar addiction cycle, which is a real thing. Really bad.
Throw in there a disease that we both have and that we talk about quite often, that is inflammation around nerves, and sugar increases that inflammation.
Yeah, that's right. Sugar's a big one, and it's a very tough one to get over, but you can do it. Like, I feel like I'm really good evidence to that because I used to be addicted to junk food and sugar. Like, I wholeheartedly admit that. And to come off it, I needed to trick myself, I needed to make sure that I couldn't quit, that I couldn't cheat, that I couldn't just reach to the back of the cupboard and find that cooking chocolate that would have tasted disgusting. But you know what? If I could have found it, I would have eaten it. When those cravings hit, it gets really, really tough. So it can be done, and it takes about 2 to 3 weeks. 2 to 3 weeks of starving yourself from all those sugary, nasty foods to actually get over that addiction cycle. But
with it is I drank lots of licorice tea.
Yep.
Licorice tea, so as long as you haven't got a high blood pressure problem, licorice tea helps with, it's a natural help with sugar cravings. And even now, if I feel that, I'm looking for something sweet, I'll just go and have a glass of hot licorice tea. So I drink licorice with peppermint in it, and then I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm definitely good. So,
and it's funny now because I can recognize when I've had some sugar that's been hidden in products. So I'll give you an example. This week, actually, I made my smoothie in the morning. I put my almond milk in there. And later on that day, I was like, you know what? I just feel like something sweet. And because the cravings aren't like excessive, where you just like must have sugar right now, I was just like, God, why am I feeling like that? And I actually looked at the almond milk, organic sugar in it. Organic doesn't mean that it's good sugar. It means that it's better sourced sugar, less refined, but it was still sugar. And that's what triggered this like, oh, I want some more sugar. And the more you eat sugar, the more you want sugar.
I know. I read a book called Pure, White and Deadly, probably about 15 years ago. And they weren't talking about cocaine. They were talking about sugar and the impact that it does have on your body and that for it. But how do you go, Allyson, when you're traveling and finding food to eat?
Well, I will reflect on a story that was when I went to Turkey and the Balkan countries, and I did a pre-video at the airport, and I said, I'm going to commit to doing 80%. You know, I'm traveling, so I can't probably do it all the time, but I'm going to do 80% compliant with my diet. And if I do that, then I feel like that's, you know, success. And when I got over there, I could eat two things, tomato and cucumber.
I'd be stuffed.
That's all they had. That's seriously, it was all like they had a buffet, and that's the only sort of vegetable that I could actually eat. Everything else was processed and, you know, yuck. So I was just like, right, well, I can't live off that for, you know, 6 weeks of this trip. So I just had to be like, rightio, where I can choose healthy, I will. But otherwise, I just have to go with this. And it's not going to be good. The good part was, as soon as I got back, I was back on my diet because I knew the benefit it needed to have on my body, and that I would have increased that inflammation whilst being away, that I needed to reduce when I got back. So that was kind of the good part, is that my mindset was just boom, straight back onto it as soon as I get there. Because I know how good I feel when I'm actually on this, and when I'm not, I know how shit I feel as well. So, you know, you choose your hard. This is what I like to think of. Hard for me looks like sitting in hospital with lines coming out of me, not being able to walk properly, feeling like I hit rock bottom, versus I can't eat sugary crap anymore. And I can't drink. I choose not to drink anymore. I choose not to have refined sugars and, you know, bad foods. It's hard either way. You get to choose which hard you want to do. And I choose to not eat that crap.
When you make it a choice rather than I can't have, I choose not to eat it, then your mindset switches, and then you shouldn't be then focusing subconsciously on all the foods that you can't have because you choose not to have them. I mean, I, in a way, have been, I don't want to say blessed or lucky, but I've had milk allergies for nearly my whole life. Caffeine I haven't been able to have in over 31 years. And so if I have a cup of coffee, I instantly get a migraine, and the pain outweighs the taste and the flavour and the sensation of having a cup of coffee for that 30 seconds of it going down the gullet. And the same with chocolate. I get a migraine from chocolate. So I haven't had a cup of cow's milk since I was 15. So, you know, I look at those foods. Oranges are the same, and I look at them and go, I remember what they taste like, but I also instantly know if I eat them what's going to happen, and I'll end up in hospital. And that's with a lot of other foods now as well. But that made it a little bit easier for me, that I wasn't missing out because I can't. I've said, no, I can't have that. I'm missing out because I physically can't have that, or I choose not to have that.
Yeah. And I think that helps. I mean, when I first started, if I heard that, if I heard like, Allyson, it's just a choice between being healthy and being not healthy, I would be like, oh, God, like I'm sick of hearing that, to be honest. Like I would have just thought, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I'm sick of giving up the foods that make me feel good, that make my taste buds, you know, enjoy it. When I first started eating healthy, I was like, this food is boring.
Yeah.
I was like, this is so crap compared to the usual food that, I enjoy eating. And I thought it was torture. I was like, how much longer do I have to do this stupid diet for before I can quit and go back to my old habits? And then I felt it after 3 months of, agony. 3 months, I was like, oh my God, hello brain, hello energy. Where have you been all my life? And this is profound because unless I actually felt it, I was just ready to quit because I'm like, this is crap. Don't like it.
I can remember looking back, even about 5 years ago. It's probably longer actually, not long after I was diagnosed, and, looking at Terry Walls' diet and then overcoming MS, like George's eating plans, and it's like, no way am I ever going to be able to do that. No way at all. And now when I look, I'm like, well, I am pretty much doing, one of them. I still eat meat, but not in the quantities of what I used to eat, and lean meat rather than the big fatty stuff. But yeah, it's amazing the progression that I've had with my food over the years. I mean, I used to eat 14 takeaway meals a week.
Yeah.
Morbidly obese, 125 kilos, couldn't see my toes, hadn't seen my toes in years, let alone any other part of my body, pushing out of, size 24s into size 26 clothing, and wondered why I got sick. Hello.
Yeah. But it takes us to get to that point sometimes where we actually go, what's going on here? And then you start learning. Once you start learning things like, oh my God, there's this Terry Walls diet. What is that? And you start investigating it, you start looking into it. Something eventually clicks, but it can take a bit of time because we're actually resistant to change. We don't want to change. Like, honestly, if I could still have all my junk foods and still live the healthiest life possible with lots of vitality, it made no difference to my health if I ate crappy food versus good food, I'd be eating the crappy food because it tastes amazing, right? But unfortunately, it has health consequences to us, which most of us don't kind of consider.
It's funny you say it tastes yummy because no, some of it doesn't anymore. Like my grandkids, as a treat, they don't get it very often, love to go to McDonald's. And, I grew up walking to McDonald's at the age of 10 or 11. My grandma used to let us walk up to the local McDonald's. And I was eating a Big Mac and a cheeseburger and a fries and a shake at the age of 11. And so I'll take the grandkids now to Macca's, and I can't eat any of it. Like, yuck. I have one mouthful and all I can taste in the buns is the sugar, because they're a bun, not a roll, but buns have a high sugar content anyway, and just all of it. And I'll have one mouthful and I'm like, yeah, I can't do this. I just can't do it. And I don't force the kids to eat all theirs either. If they're too busy playing in the playroom and they haven't eaten it, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tell you what, the first mouthful is usually like, oh my God, I can't stand that. It's disgusting. But you know what? When I was overseas and I kind of had to start eating this food that I'm not accustomed to, first mouthful, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so awful. Second mouthful, I'm like, oh, it's okay, I guess. Third mouthful, I was like, it's actually quite nice. So it took like 3 mouthfuls before I was like, wow, okay, my taste buds are like, hello again, sugar, welcome back.
Where have you been?
Yeah. And I documented 3 days before I was back on sugar addiction again. I could feel my body actually wanting sugar again, like my old sugar addiction. It took 3 days. Amazing. Yep. Amazing.
And then to change back, I mean, it does take discipline again when you come home and you want to get back into your, your good eating regime. And that does take discipline. And also I find by not having those foods in the pantry to start with, is, I'm 90% there. if they're not in the pantry, I can't reach to the back in your words, Allyson, and grab the dark cooking chocolate. That's not something I would do. But if I had little packets of chips in there, oh my God. Oh, I still can't have little packets of chips in the cupboard even since 1999 because I don't eat.
Not a bad thing.
I don't eat just one little packet. I'll eat like every flavour that's in there and then fold them all up and put them in one packet and put them in the bin so it only looks like I've eaten one packet. But that's an overweight thing. That's not this is not good for me kind of thing. So if I don't buy the foods and they're not in the pantry, they're not in the freezer and they're not in the fridge, then I can't eat them. And
that's one of the best tips that I could ever give somebody is just stop buying it, because when you get the cravings hit, if you go to the fridge and pantry and you're like, oh my God, where is something that I can eat? And you've only got a bowl of fruit sitting there or something like that, guess what? You're going to just go for that fruit. It doesn't hit the same spot. Your cravings will still kind of be there, but it will actually dull them down to the point where you're like, all right, yeah, well, that's okay. And you can get through just by having that. So if it's not in your house, most of us are too lazy to actually drive to the supermarket and go and get the chocolate or the ice cream or whatever it is. So if it's not in your house, it minimizes those chances of getting, reaching for something that you'll regret the next day.
Yeah, or paying, $6-7 to get Uber Eats just to get it. No way, thanks. But I think as well, like, I don't think I've had enough water today. I know I haven't had enough water, and that's why I was in the kitchen before going, I don't know what I feel like. And it's like, I'm not actually hungry. I am dehydrated. I need water. And I can already feel my headache getting a little bit better because of the water. And there's a lot of people that, will have a false belief, oh, but I can't drink water. Well, you can. You just choose not to. And
true. I used to think just by drinking Coca-Cola or something along those lines, I'm like, it's mainly water. That's where my water is. So I don't think I remember ever drinking, like just drinking water, normal water, unless I was at basketball and I'd have a drink bottle full of water. But otherwise, like I used to just think that my water content was in all of the sugary drinks that I was drinking. That's fine. That's where my water's at. Yeah, it's just not the same.
No, it's just like for every cup of tea or coffee you drink, you should have an additional 3 glasses of water to keep you hydrated because they're diuretics. Caffeine's a diuretic and it'll flush out too much water out of your system. So in order to be equally hydrated, you've got to drink more water for every cuppa that you're actually having. And
did you know that water dehydration is what do they call it? Exponentially raises your histamine levels as well. So when I used to wake up in the morning, particularly during like spring months, I would, as soon as I wake, I would just start chew, 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 and I would just continually sneeze and sneeze and sneeze. And I used to be on cortisone sprays and all sorts of stuff for my allergies. And one day I read that the relationship between water and this raising histamine, I was like, I wonder if I'm just dehydrated. Every time if I wake up and I'm sneezing, I reach for my water bottle, I guzzle. You've got to drink a little bit, guzzle down some water, sneezing stops.
Amazing.
Unbelievable. So if you've got those allergies that happen around that time of year, maybe just try guzzling some water. It may not work for everybody, but because there is actually a relationship between the dehydration and the histamine, it goes up exponentially. Just give it a try. Like, what have you got to lose? It could actually
help you by drinking extra water.
True.
What was I going to say? If you're yawning a lot, the quickest way to stop yawning is to have a big glass of water because your body is actually telling you it needs oxygen. And what's water? Oxygen.
A good amount of oxygen.
Yeah. Just in liquid form. So, water. That's my biggest thing with going to Bali next week is buying water the whole time that I'm there and getting big enough bottles as well because I like drinking out of a big bottle for it. So we'll see what happens when I'm back over there, and what food choices I shall be making. I intend on eating rice because last time I went over, I was good with the rice. So the rice and the eggs, that's what I pretty much live on, and some fruit while I'm over there. But it's always so warm over there as well. You don't need to eat much.
Yeah, that's right. And that's right. And obviously, if you can get salads and stuff over there, go with that because that's going to be good for you. It's nice because it's like, it's good warmer weather kind of food as well. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you'll just be able to make more educated choices. And I think that's the whole thing. Like, it's just about going, okay, I know that I don't want to go completely off rail if I can avoid it. So I'm just going to make some better choices, some choices that I never used to make or I never would have made in the past. But now you're actually kind of consciously thinking, all right, well, how do I make sure that my body's going to stay well for this whole, 12 days that I'm over there?
And I definitely don't want to come back feeling worse than what I generally do every day. And, I'm only back for 3 weeks and then I'm away for a week again. So trying to come home as healthy as what I am going over there, but, potentially more rested is the goal.
That'll be nice. Go get some massages. That's what I did when I went to Bali. I had a poor girl that was like, I like really firm massages. And this little girl, I don't know how old she would have been, but maybe like 12 or 13. And she was giving me a massage and she must have been like putting all her weight into it. She stopped about 10 minutes early and I was like, oh, that's a bit, that's a bit cheap sort of thing. Anyway, I turned around and she's like sweating and like, just like, yeah, okay, I hope you enjoyed your massage. And I was like, I felt so bad for her because she was working so hard to give me this really nice massage. So that was...
Love me because I'm hypersensitive from the MS.
And just like a light touch massage.
Look, a light touch massage some days is excruciatingly painful as well. So I go for a weekly massage, as you know, and every time I go in, they say to me, so how are you today? And I'm like, yeah, let's just wait and see. Just start. And I have one leg that's completely different to the other leg. And I'm not the type of person that'll just lie there and try and put up with the pain because that's the worst thing that you can do. It's like, oh, that hurts, back off. And then when I go to the chiropractor, he has 2 or 3 people at the one time massaging. And that's a bizarre sensation to have like 4 hands on you or 6 hands on you. And then telling them, so there's nothing relaxing about that. And then trying to tell, one might be working on your hamstring and one's working on your lower back, another one's working on your shoulder, and you'll go, ouch, and they'll go, which one? So now I go, ouch leg or ouch shoulder or ouch my back.
Wow.
It will back off a bit. Back off a lot.
Crazy,
that really hurts.
I think like mine isn't to do with like sensitivity of skin. Mine's like my muscles get really tight. And I noticed that just before I got the official diagnosis, which is tomorrow, like 17 years ago, I think. Yeah. I remember I was going to the gym and I was like, I just need to stretch my legs out. My legs are so tight and I just can't seem to stretch them. Like they're just always tight. And since then, they've just been like concrete, just everything's just seized up. So that must be to do with the MS because I never noticed it before that. But I remember it was like the week before I was like, I just can't stretch my muscles.
Yeah,
just
that's
really tight.
Well, you go into a constant spasm with them. And that's what my toes are doing at the moment. They're in and out of spasms constantly. So the closest I could actually say what it would be like is a cramp. And if I have one more person say to me, oh, you need to have magnesium, we're going to shove it where the sun don't shine because it ain't got anything to do with the amount of magnesium that my body's actually having. You can overdose on magnesium, and we do have someone in our MS book that's coming out who has done that, supplemented way too much in in magnesium, where it got to the point where it had the counter opposite effect, and she couldn't walk at all because of the amount of magnesium that she was putting into her system. So you have to read her chapter. It's very interesting.
I'm excited to read everybody's chapters out of that. It's going to be amazing and just inspiring, I think, to be able to read just what everybody's gone through. Like, it's such an ordeal, and everybody's story is different, as you always say. But I think it's going to be an amazing book. I'm very excited.
Yeah. And if you want your own copy, listeners, you can go on to resiliencemindset.com.au and register for a pre-order for that copy, which will be out on the 14th of September. Come hell or high water, I'm getting it done.
We've got a date. Rightio, that's done.
We have. It's all booked in. I've just got to finish formulating the book. That's all. Doing all the typesetting at the moment, which is a learning curve for me, and frustration, but also excitement as well. We also have another podcast coming out that we'll mention as well, Allyson, today. It'll be out in September, starting on the 1st of September, in addition to this one, and it's called Whispers of Resilience, Our MS Stories, and you'll find it under Resilience Mindset on all major podcast streaming platforms. But once it comes out, we'll advertise the links in our show notes through MS Unmasked.
Yeah, so that's with all of the authors of the book, right?
Yeah, so there's 26 episodes of that one. So it's just a short little series on that, and it's dropping all over 1 month. And look, they don't go for any more than around about half an hour. Being the longest. Some of them are only 20 minutes, and just an insight into why everyone wrote their chapters and all the bits they forgot to write or didn't mention in their chapter. So you get a little bit of an insight into each author as well. So it's all very exciting. Anyway, Elle, we didn't talk about what we were going to talk about today at all. So we'll do
next episode, though.
We've done it again. We've just spent 40 minutes talking about travel, food, water, leg spasms, a bit of this, a bit of that.
Hopefully somebody got some gem of information out of our discussion today and can take some steps towards, getting a little bit healthier, getting a little bit better, and understanding, like knowing that they're not alone.
We'd love some feedback. So if you're enjoying it, let us know. Send us a message, an email, a Facebook message, give us a ring. All our details are in the show notes there.
And let us know if you've got any questions too.
That's right.
So if you've got questions that you would like us to try and answer or give our insights into, just please let us know, because we'd love to hear from you.
Cool. Well, until next time, you all stay healthy.
Bye.
Are you ready to be inspired? Get ready for the book that will touch your heart and ignite your spirit. Whispers of Resilience, Personal Stories of Living with MS is now available for purchase. Have you ever wanted to peek into the lives of individuals who have triumphed over adversity? Look no further. This highly anticipated anthology brings together a group of exceptionally talented authors, all living with multiple sclerosis, who share their personal journeys with unyielding honesty and vulnerability. At www.resiliencemindset.com.au, you can now secure your copy of this remarkable book that captures the essence of resilience, hope, and the power of the human spirit. Dive into the stories that will captivate your imagination and open your heart to the triumphs and challenges faced by these courageous individuals. With each turn of the page, you'll witness the unbreakable spirit of these authors, as they navigate the unpredictable terrain of MS. Their words will inspire you, uplift you, and remind you of the incredible strength that lies within. Visit www.resiliencemindset.com.au now and embark on a transformative journey through the pages of Whispers of Resilience. Get your copy today.